Biden takes a new turn. Now he's on the hunt for some new representation. Details ahead.
Out-of-control crime leads to out-of-control crime prevention. Ahead, how Chicago is politely asking the city's gangs not to commit crimes while the sun is up.
Residents of Maui holding out for help from the feds while little is to be found. We've got the latest on our government's inaction.
And draining the swamp, tax crusading Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown in hot water for not disclosing his family's six-figure bonus. Uh-oh. Those stories and more. American Sunrise starts right now.
We've got your back as you start your day.
Articulating what the majority of Americans feel today, and I really appreciate that you do.
Y'all tell the truth.
You guys are our voice.
Watch every morning while getting ready for work.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Gina.
And I'm Miranda Khan, and we are live from West Palm Beach, Florida. How are you doing today? I don't know about you, but I hit every single light on my way to work. Doesn't that just drive you crazy?
Yeah.
Hopefully your morning is off to a better start. Let's bring in now David Brody, who joins us live from D.C. Good to see you.
Ladies, great to see you. I'll tell you what, they just can't hide this anymore. The liberals there, Fannie Willis. What you talking about, Willis? I mean, look, ultimately, they got a lot of problems. They're not even hiding the disdain for Trump, clearly, and we're going to unpack that all today right here on the show.
Yeah. Well, Fannie Willis, speaking of, who is, of course, the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney, has chosen a trial date for Trump. She wants the Trump trial to begin March 4th, 2024. Wonder why she chose that day.
Yeah. Speculate everything. Everything here is about timing.
Yes.
Everything.
And everything is planned.
Yeah.
It's as if we're living in an alternate universe.
We are, by some crazy coincidence. That is the day before the Super Tuesday primary.
Shocking.
Yep.
Isn't it, though? All right, let's bring in Terrance Bates for some headlines. He is patiently waiting out in Denver, Colorado studios to give us the very latest. Good to see you, Terrance. Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good to see you. Most legal experts agree that the latest indictment against President Trump out of Fulton County, Georgia, is just a stretch. President Trump himself calling Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis out for what he calls prosecutorial misconduct. Now, while we have probably heard the word unprecedented more in the last week than ever before in our lives, famed legal mind Alan Dershowitz says what's coming out of Georgia is, quote, unheard of. President Trump and 18 co-defendants accused of mob-like racketeering.
The prosecutor has said she wants to try them all together, and she wants to try them all within 6 months. Unheard of in all of American history. To have an indictment this broad, this extensive, covering so many people, to be tried within 6 months, unheard of. Usually a case like this would take a year and a half, 2 years to bring to trial. And also, the prosecution is going to have to prove the state of mind of each of the defendants. And each of the defendants may have different states of mind. For example, you may get a defendant who admitted to somebody that, I knew the election was fair. That would be very different from a defendant who has said right from the beginning, like Donald Trump, I firmly believe this election was stolen.
Famed Harvard law professor also says what the Trump team did during the 2020 election is the exact same thing Al Gore did during the 2000 election against George W. Bush. This is a quote, "We challenged the election and we did much of the things that are being done today and people praised us. I wrote a best-selling book called Supreme Injustice. Now they're making it a crime," he writes. The revolution will be televised. In this case, the revolution that I'm speaking of is Donald Trump's trial there in Fulton County, Georgia, and you'll likely get to watch it unfold from the comfort of your home. Georgia law requires that cameras be allowed in judicial proceedings with a judge's approval. Back in 2018, the state Supreme Court ruled that, quote, open courtrooms are an indispensable element of an effective and respected judicial system. Georgia also requires that indictments be made public immediately, unlike in New York, where the public waited waited for days for the document to be unsealed after President Trump told that he'd be indicted. Although the presiding judge has the final say on camera access, requests are almost always granted once organizations file a formal request known as a Rule 22. And the government is slated to run out of money at the end of next month. However, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have reportedly reached a deal to keep agencies up and running while the House and Senate figure out long-term funding. The proposed continuing resolution, as it's called, would fund the government beyond September 30th into December in order to allow more time for both sides to craft annual spending bills that pass in both chambers. One of the challenges for Speaker McCarthy, though, will be winning over the more conservative faction of his party, which is still upset over the debt ceiling deal that McCarthy brokered with President Biden. Concerned conservatives are looking for some serious spending cuts. That's a quick check of your headlines. Of course, I'll have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit. Now, back to the two ladies and the one gentleman.
Well, you calling me a gentleman is so very nice. Thank you, Terrance. And ladies, look, I mean, we call the show American Sunrise. We do not want to call it Banana Republic Sunrise. That is what we are fighting against. And yet, at every turn, we have liberals doing exactly that, trying to turn America into a banana republic. And I wanted to get your reaction to this because I wanted to play this clip from Senator John Kennedy in Louisiana. He is always good for a quote, as you all know. And he had to say something about goats and Banana Republic in only the way Senator John Kennedy can. Have a look.
It's President Trump has been indicted 4 times in the last 5 months. It's surreal. Politically, it's sort of like a zombie apocalypse. I mean, we're not talking about a DoorDash driver here. He's a former president of the United States, and he is a current active candidate for president of the United States, running against a party whose 4 prosecutors have indicted him. And regardless of what you think about President Trump, this is unprecedented. It's going to really test our political system. I mean, this is the sort of thing that happens in countries whose Powerball jackpot is 387 chickens and a goat.
I love him. He is so good, such a classic every time. But, you know, the point he makes is salient. He's saying, you know, here they are persecuting and prosecuting, as we've talked about a lot of times on this program, but the timing while he is running is what is key here. And we can't lose sight of that because they've had years they could have done this, right? They could have done this. If they wanted to go after Donald Trump, they could have gone after him if he did so many things wrong and he was so intolerable. They could have gone after him months or even years ago, and they didn't. That's what exposes the timing and their motives behind it.
Yeah,
there's no
without a doubt.
And also, Rudy Giuliani being punished before the case has even been presented. So on we go with this.
Yeah, this from our partners over at Just the News. Giuliani's law license is suspended, and he is up against disbarment proceedings in D.C. and New York. America's mayor said in court Monday that his legal problems have left him without cash. He now has to sell his 3-bedroom apartment in New York City that he has owned now for 20 years for $6.5 million. Just to stay afloat.
You know, is the goal of these indictments to destroy those who stand accused? Well, that's the question, I think, in everyone's mind. I think even some Democrats are coalescing around this idea, realizing they could be next. Joining us now, former Ohio Republican Congressman and all-around good guy, my friend Bob McEwen. He sat on the House Intelligence Committee, and we're glad to have you here with us today. Is that your take, Congressman? I mean, is there anything that you've heard throughout this incessant persecution that tells you anything is legitimate here?
Gina, this is worse than anyone can even imagine. This is something that, as they say, unprecedented. This is un-American. And what they did was tiptoe into it to see how much the American people would put up with. And when they invaded his home and said to his attorneys that you can't even be in the house while we ransack it and go through his wife's dressing room and all of that. And what was the charge? The charge was that he had documents under seal, which is his right under the law. Just a quick reminder of in the Crown where Queen Elizabeth wanted to practice with the crown, and she said, "May I borrow it?" And he looked at her and he said, "Borrow it, ma'am? From whom? If it's not yours, whose is it?" What in the bureaucracy owns these documents, if not the President of the United States? So he didn't destroy anything, as Hillary did and all the other people did. The question is, which box are they stored in? Now, once they were able to do that, and the American people put up with it, then they went to the next step, and that is, we're going to indict these people, we're going to financially break them, and eventually we're going to put them in jail instead of. And the thing about the left, they always telegraph what they're going to do. They accuse you of doing what they want to do. And they said that democracy was on the ballot. They want to destroy democracy by making it impossible for Republicans to vote for their candidate.
Bob, you lead with your faith so much, and to me this has spiritual undertones, a spiritual warfare aspect, and I know we use that a lot, but I truly believe in this case. I believe what we are seeing is when good is called evil and evil is called good, and we are being told we are crazy. Donald Trump is being told he is crazy for even going there. Explain it a bit in spiritual terms, Bob.
Well, the United States is the standard for righteousness in the world. That is, if you have a copyright violation, if you have counterfeit bills, if you have a plane disappears over the African continent, if a ship is attacked on the high seas, who can come to their defense? Only the United States of America is the standard for right and wrong. If it be a British trawler in the Straits of Hormuz, or it be a tanker in the South China Sea. So the scripture says that if you want to take a city, you must bind a strong man. There's only one strong man in the world. It's the United States of America. You take America down, the rest of it is a piece of cake. And that's what this is. 70% of all maritime traffic goes through the South China Sea. That's protected and free because of America. Well, if Barack Obama is successful in allowing the Chinese to take over the South China Sea as we withdraw and they militarize those artificial islands, they can then say to Japan, who imports 100% of their oil, unless you break relations with Israel, there's going to be a 25% surtax on anything that you get. The world has not seen what it's like when a corrupt nation is the most powerful nation on earth. We had 250 years under Britain, and we've had now 80 years under the United States. That's what is at risk at this. And if you take down America, then the right to freedom and which of course, remember, does not come from government, it comes from God. Our rights of life and liberty will be at stake, no question about it.
Congressman, I have to ask you, one thing that Democrats do really well, other than just projecting, is they actually take action. I mean, they said they were going to go after Trump. They're doing it. 4 indictments in 5 months. Where are the Republicans? I mean, we've heard a lot of talk. I mean, Ted Cruz has talked about it. Kevin McCarthy has talked about it. But I don't see any action.
Miranda, you're 100% correct. I just recently finished a book by Larson, who told about it's called the Garden of the Beast. It's 1933 in Germany, and it's the woman who is the daughter of the U.S. ambassador, and she describes how that they would be at a party and somebody would not attend that was there last week, and they said, "Well, where are they?" They said, "Oh, well, they disappeared," and the conversation would just go on to the next point. What happened was that they had disappeared, they had been killed, and the people became numb to it. Now, what is happening is that these solidly Democrat districts, Trump got 5% in Britain, in the capital of D.C., in 17% in Manhattan. So they've taken these overwhelmingly Democrat districts and take away their freedom, and unless we react, this is 1933 in Germany, unless we react, they will continue to do this across the board. So your question is 100% correct. Where are the prosecutors? Yeah. Where are the district attorneys? Where are the attorneys general that will say that you have violated, you're bringing in these child molesters, you're allowing slavery, abuse of 170,000 minors, that young children that are bringing across the border, and fentanyl, all the rest. Any one of those prosecutors could have a RICO charge against Mayorkas and Biden, and unless Republicans react, I fear for we've said that before. This is the most dangerous, as Newt Gingrich said, this is the most dangerous time in the history of this nation.
Well, on that note, which isn't a very high note, but it certainly is a fair warning, Congressman Bob McEwen, we thank you for being here. Thanks for your wisdom. Hope to have you back soon. Survivors of the Maui Inferno are not getting the federal help that they desperately need, but why? We're going to tell you coming up in just a moment. Also, who are the majority of victims in those Hawaii fires? We'll tell you that as well.
And up next, it took an indictment against President Trump for the lamestream media to completely forget about the Hunter Biden debacle. Why one of his attorneys is walking away from the case.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. It is 18 minutes past the top of the hour, no matter where you live. So good to see each and every one of you. David Brody in Washington, D.C., Terrance Bates here in Denver, Colorado. And David, so much is being made lately of President Trump and the indictments against him. But what about Hunter? Why are we talking about him anymore? Hunter Biden, that is.
I know. It's exactly the way the Democrats and the liberals like it. Don't talk about Hunter. Oh, we're going to talk about Hunter. As a matter of fact, the latest headline showing that Christopher Clark, his lawyer, or now I guess I should say former lawyer, he's out. He's done. He represented Hunter for 5 years, but no longer. Actually, it does say here that because of this plea agreement in the tax case, and he may be involved because he was part of reaching that plea deal originally, and that's going to be part of the special counsel investigation. He's in essence saying, listen, no mas, I think I better step aside and be out at this point because it could be a conflict of interest. Anyhow, it's a whole very interesting story now because now they have Abby Lowell as Hunter Biden's attorney. And Abby Lowell is a very, very fierce defender and very vocal, and he's aggressive. And so this is kind of the new strategy, ladies. And it's going to be interesting to see what Hunter Biden and his lawyers now try to dream up or do, because I think this case is headed to trial.
I don't know. I'm not as confident that something's going to happen. I mean, maybe I'm just, that's wishful thinking.
Cynical at this
maybe
point?
A little
with
bit.
With good reason?
I'm just saying they've been, what did we say the other day? They thought it was $20 million that this family brought in, and now they're saying it could be $50 million.
Upward of 50.
Right.
They said 50
that we
was
know
a conservative number.
Conservative number.
Yeah.
And I just think if they've been able to get away with it for this long, that they're going to continue to do it.
With no business,
so when you
no
think
skills.
about the special counsel, too. I mean, really? Come on.
Right, exactly.
I hear you.
Are you guys buying the whole idea that he's jumping ship because he doesn't want to testify, or is this, I'm jumping ship because there's too many rats and it's going down?
I think he doesn't want to have to testify.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think he doesn't want to.
I know. I think it's rats in the ship. I think I disagree with you.
Wow.
I know.
That never happened.
What?
Look, I'm an instigator. I'm an instigator. I instigated a disagreement between the ladies.
Look what you did. I love to know what those of you at home think. So
I'll tell you what they think. Do you want to know what they think?
Okay.
They think Terrance is looking mighty fine today.
Oh, that's because
they like the combination of the. Oh, yeah. Look at that. you know, there's some weird psychic thing that happens with the clothes. It's bizarre. It is crazy. Like when you start hosting together, you start thinking alike, talking alike, and dressing alike.
Until Terrance just messed up that whole mojo, right?
Well,
the clothing's good, but he got us disagreeing.
Oh yeah, right. Yes.
All right, join in on the conversation. For those of you at home, grab your cup of coffee, go to Getter, go to Truth Social, you name it. We want to hear from you. What do you think? Meanwhile, just ahead on American Sunrise, the old adage, the rich keep getting richer, is not the case, as we were just talking about it. In Joe Biden's America, the number of millionaires falls here in America. Find out why.
And later, it's time to drain the swamp. We like doing that here on American Sunrise. Ohio Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown loves to raise taxes, but not disclose the income. Find out why Brown is now in hot water. It's all ahead on American Sunrise.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Oh, yeah. I'm loving this music. I'm sorry, I'm just by myself dancing.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. Someone feeling good. David Brody over there jamming in D.C. Gina and I are here in West Palm Beach, Florida, and hopefully we got you up and moving. Come and get your day.
Brody likes it. I tell you, I'm waiting for the country cuts. I like country music.
Yeah.
Travis Tritt concert this weekend here in the way. I know.
I do.
Really?
I like all genres. I like all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. But I'm glad that we're up and going and moving this morning.
That's right. Whatever gets David moving, we're good with it. Yes.
Let me just say, I like swanky. Look, I'm a Rat Pack guy. I mean, put me in 1965
gotcha.
in Las Vegas. Yeah, put
Take
me
me to the moon.
Oh, hello. I am totally there. By the way, I think I pulled a muscle during that segment when I was dancing.
All right, so that's not what you want to do. You may want to just sit back and relax a little bit more.
David is an old soul. He's an old soul. Little. Let's just say wise beyond his years.
Yeah, that's a great way.
Somebody else who keeps it, who also likes Sinatra a lot, by the way. Any guesses, David, who I'm getting ready to talk about?
I have no idea. Who likes Frank Sinatra? Who? I don't know. I'm not in the know.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump. He likes
Trump.
that.
I should know. He does it his way. My way. Yes.
My Way is his favorite song. Anyway, he is striking back. He said in a video posted to Truth Social that he will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the Bidens when he is elected a second time. So that's his plan. He's pulling no punches. He's Trump-like ever. There is nothing weary about this man. It's astonishing sometimes.
Yeah, I think he'll probably do it too, because I know that people were kind of critical. I think probably more so his competitor, right, Ron DeSantis of Florida, because he didn't go after the Clintons.
But are you a competitor if you're pulling like 10%?
Well, right. Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
Wannabe competitor might be a better description.
Yeah. I'm with you. But I think a lot of people would be up for that.
Yeah.
Definitely, David, especially knowing what he's learned. I mean, I think he's even learned the deep state was far deeper than he ever imagined.
Oh, he said that. He said that point blank.
And can we stop with DeSantis? DeSantis keeps saying Trump took on the deep state and he didn't do anything. He didn't drain the swamp.
Exactly.
Give me a break. Come on. I mean, what Trump was doing was exactly draining the swamp and exposing the deep state. And here's the sad part. When you start to expose the deep state, it's like its tentacles. There's cockroaches everywhere. They keep coming out. And then you have Anonymous and you have all these people coming. So you have to expose the problem before you can fix the problem. And Donald Trump did expose it big time. And so I'm really kind of sick and tired of that DeSantis line, honestly.
Well, I think he's talking about himself. I mean, that's really what he's doing. He's talking about himself. He literally was a copycat version, or trying to be a copycat version of Trump. Let's just call it for what it is. And who are his biggest donors? It's not real Americans.
It's not real Americans. It's all those big corporate PACs out there. But one of the things about Donald Trump that I always thought, there's so much unwritten between him and his America. There's so much that he doesn't have to say. He didn't have to say, wait till my second term. But we all knew that deep state heads were going to roll in his second term. And of course, I mean that proverbially. Nobody's threatening anybody. But this is real. We knew when Trump was reelected, and we knew he would be, because you can see the crowds he still amasses every time he steps out into the sunshine, right? We knew that he would be reelected, and we knew that when he was, whole departments were going to go away that have needed to be gone, going way back. And he didn't have to say it. He still doesn't have to say it.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think the payback is coming big time in 2024. I remember the woman with screaming in 2016 when Trump beat Hillary.
Yes.
No. We thought that was hysterical. Wait until 2024 comes around. Oh, my God. I can't wait to see the memes, but we'll wait on that. Listen, we got to go to AMAC headlines, or news headlines, sponsored by AMAC. Terrance Bates.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
New York City is the latest municipality to ban TikTok on government-owned devices. The city cites security concerns, joining a long list of cities, states, and the federal government in putting restrictions on the popular video sharing app. 150 million Americans use the app, but the government and intelligence agencies have concerns about the Chinese-owned app being influenced by the Chinese government and then used to spy on the American people. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says TikTok poses a security threat to the city's technical networks. The app now has to be removed from city agencies within the next 30 days. New York State, by the way, has already banned it on state-issued mobile devices. The American soldier who bolted across the border into North Korea during a tour remains detained in that communist nation. North Korean officials claim Private Travis King crossed the DMZ into North Korea because he, quote, harbored ill feelings against inhumane mistreatment and racial discrimination with the U.S. Army. Reports out of Pyongyang say King was looking for refuge in North Korea or a third country because he was, quote, disillusioned with unequal American society. The State Department says it has no way to authenticate the validity of North Korea's claims. King, by the way, is the first American confirmed to be detained by the North in nearly 5 years. Now to a story that you could talk about around the water cooler at work today. Listen to this. A transgender American is now an official spokesperson for the Ukrainian army. You're looking at Sarah Ashton Cirillo here. He or she has been working in the war zone for more than a year now in both civilian and military capacities. Over the last month, Cirillo has transitioned from being an infantry soldier to becoming one of the public voices for the Ukrainian armed forces, specifically for English language communications. The spokesman turned spokeswoman initially came to Ukraine as a reporter. USA Today referred to Cirillo as the world's first openly transgender war correspondent. That's a quick check of your headlines brought to you by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, whom I'll surely be part of.
Oh, my goodness. That explains so much. Just seeing that person, doesn't it? When you look at it, it explains so much, right? What's going on with our military right now? Biden's connection, why he keeps writing those checks over to Ukraine while he's only giving a measly $700 to people that just lost everything in Maui. Just kind of sums it all up because that's the priority.
I'm glad you explained that. I thought you were talking about me being part of AMAC soon and being a mature American citizen. I thought that's what you were saying. Explain so much.
You're only a month away. You're only a month away, Terrance. I cannot wait.
We're going to celebrate that.
We are.
Bigly.
Woo-hoo.
Bigly.
Yes.
Okay. All right, coming up, Tara Dahl is going to join us here on set with some stunning new border invasion statistics.
And Joe Biden gets lost literally every time he leaves the stage after a speech. But now he is getting lost as he comes to the stage.
Oh, my.
Yeah, this is truly unbelievable. We're going to show you next.
in Sunrise. Miranda Khan and I here in West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm Dr. Gina. We're glad. We are glad
to have
you
some more
all
coffee. I'll get you some of
today.
that.
That's right.
That beard vet coffee.
Yes, that's right. I need some more. Also joining us, of course, from Washington, D.C., our own David Brody, and from Denver, Colorado, in our headquarters, Terrance Bates. Look at me saying Terrance Bates without even stuttering.
I'm so proud of you. I am.
Talk on TV. Finally a thing.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. It's a good Thursday morning. As you like to say, Miranda, it is Friday Eve.
I do. Doesn't that just make it better?
It does make it better.
Especially when you've had a really long week.
Yes.
I said that once to
Yes.
Zen Master, and he looked at me with the most perplexed look on his face. Like, he was like, I don't get it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong here. But anyway, speaking of confusion, as you know, Joe Biden is out on his... You like that?
That was good.
Oh, thank you, guys. Synapses are starting to come together. But Biden's, well, it's for his, not so much. So he is on this Bidenomics tour, and he is always, you know this, he's always confused when he finishes his speech and leaves the stage, or just pretty much when it comes to just about anything.
He looks around, he pretends he's waving at people, he waits for someone to direct him, he shakes hands with people that aren't there, talks to his imaginary friends, and sometimes he doesn't even know when to come to the stage. Take a look.
President Joe Biden, y'all. Well, I'm a little underwhelmed, aren't you all? I think I messed up. Y'all, please vote for me, okay?
Can I just say that is the classic clip of all time. I mean, I'm sorry, it's too much. Literally, Joe Biden nowhere to be found. So I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden and nothing. That pretty much sums up the presidency. And then when she says, "I'm a bit underwhelmed," yeah, join the crowd.
Exactly.
Oh you can't make this
gosh.
up. This is SNL stuff, but of course SNL won't touch it. But this is, oh my gosh. I'm dying.
I think he forgot that he's not on vacation anymore. I mean, even though he was pretty much and has been for 371 days since he took office. Yeah, I mean, what? The man campaigned from his basement. I mean, it's like he's not used to making all these appearances. I mean,
Gina, Terrance got 81 million votes. He got 81 whopping freaking votes.
I got a sense that
there's just not a chance of that. Yeah, in the whole wide world, is there? Go ahead, Terrance.
No, I was just going to say, David, I get the sense that you want to use some other more explicit adjectives for whopping, but we'll just leave it there. I will say this. What we just saw in these sorts of clips, these are editors' gold for anyone that's running a campaign against Joe Biden. All you have to do is just edit these clips together. You don't even need to say anything. Edit these clips together because they truly speak volumes and they speak for themselves. You don't even have to campaign on the issues. You can just campaign on the actions or inactions.
Yeah, inaction, that's the key. Well, it's not just Joe Biden who needs to worry about brain health. We all do. So this comes via the Mayo Clinic. 6 tips to keep you brain healthy. Number 1, exercise regularly. 2, get plenty of sleep. I would say that none of us are doing that here. 3, eat a Mediterranean diet. We try. 4, stay mentally active. Well, thanks to the Democrats, we're definitely doing that. 5, remain socially involved. Hey, we're all being social. And 6, keep your blood vessels healthy. Get your blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol checked regularly and take steps to keep your numbers within a normal range. I got to say, I like these tips. Maybe I've just been in news way too long, but I feel like it's kind of like saying common sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, you know, drink water and you should probably walk and, you know, like normal things. But maybe Joe needs it. So I hope Joe was paying attention to that because he definitely needs to make his brain a lot more healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of staying healthy, all right, it's time to take charge of your well-being. And that you can do that with the Wellness Company. Check out the emergency kit from them. It is your ultimate solution for unexpected health challenges.
Yeah, things like anthrax, different kinds of bites, including spider bites. Like, what do you do if you get broad recluse bite? Well, there's a pretty easy solution, actually. COVID-19, plague, pinworms, pneumonia, skin infections, tetanus, even ticks. All the ticks are carrying the who knows what. This all comes in your kit, and this kit's your defense against this entire myriad of conditions.
Yeah, it gives you peace of mind. You don't have to think about it. Do I have this? Do I have that? It's all right there for you. So you never know what life is going to throw at you, another pandemic or just unforeseen medical challenges and emergencies. So this emergency kit includes, again, 8 life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak, along with just a comprehensive guidebook for safe use, which is key. You'll have all the confidence to tackle emergencies without having to rely on corrupt systems. CDC. Did I say that out loud? See, that's what happened. My inner voice comes out.
FEMA and the CDC.
Yeah.
But anyway, go to twc.health/RAV today and secure your emergency kit with an exclusive offer for our viewers. Go to twc.health/RAV and use code RAV at checkout, and that'll get you 10% off your order. And think about how the people in Maui might have fared differently, some of them, had they had this kind of kit, because right now they're just sitting ducks for whatever disease comes along.
Some of them,
et cetera,
yeah. All right, we now want to turn to a topic that is in need of some definite attention and healing, right? The border.
Yeah. How is it that New York was given more than $100 million in federal funds to house illegals who invaded your country, while the border state of Arizona was given a fraction of those funds? In a word, basically, political corruption. And that's 2 words. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, that's all right. We get it. So Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema is not happy about this. The senator came out swinging, saying that the communities that will suffer are the small border towns in South Texas and South Arizona. Joining us now in the studio is former National Security Council Deputy Chief of Staff for President Trump, the one, the only, Tara Dahl. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
It's so good to be with you, ladies.
Yeah, happy to have you.
I kind of disagree with Kristen Sinema there. I mean, because we're seeing an influx. People don't just, we keep saying these border cities, these border towns. They don't stay there. You know that. No. You've been on the border. You've seen it firsthand.
I just returned from being in McAllen, Texas for the last 10 days. And what we're seeing right now, it's a mass groups of migrants that are crossing, again, because of Biden policies. What's happening is they, in July, changed the policies to allow Honduran families to cross the border. So it's family reunification. And so what you're seeing, again, we saw it firsthand, and we saw masses coming off of the rafts, and they were going up then with CBP, and they would process them, and they would get on the buses, and they would go then to cities all over the United States. They'd be bussed over to cities. And what's happening is 2 different things. So in July, they changed the Honduran policies to allow them in, right? Or the policies to allow Honduran reunification. But then at the end of May, they changed the DNA testing, and they no longer do DNA testing.
Which is so upsetting to me.
Yeah, so that's what, so what you're...
So you don't know who is family and who is not, and that's what we've been talking about a lot with our border correspondents, and you as well, is that that's how you can prove that they actually are family and they're not smuggling kids, because, we're the #1 consumer.
Right. This is all about sex slavery, largest amount of sex slavery in human history, largest number of children ever sold into sex slavery, happening right under our noses, and with our funds, by the way, our charitable funds going to Catholic charities and other NGOs, and also our government funds. But Tara, what role did you see these charities playing in all of this? Because now, I mean, now the government's taking over and just straight up funding it. Before, they were using these NGOs saying they were non-governmental organizations, which is a complete farce. It's a lie. But they're still playing a major role at this juncture, working actually hand in hand with the cartels, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Biden administration policies, instead of stopping the illegal migration, right? Like, instead of having the Border Patrol enforce the rule of law, push back the smugglers, arrest the smugglers, stop and deport the illegal immigration, they're paying NGOs what Arizona just received in May, $54 million towards the NGOs to house the migrants. And all these migrants then, these NGOs are facilitating. Catholic charities are one of them. And they're getting federal funding to be able to basically break the law, right? Because these are all illegal immigrants that are coming through. And so
Biden disguising it, trying to make it look like a humanitarian, like, look, these poor people, we're Catholic charities. But
and one of the key things, I think, too, is how the Biden administration, they are prioritizing illegal immigrants over American citizens and over legal migration.
Right.
So that is what the Biden administration is doing right now. And they're changing the policies instead of being able to hinder the illegal immigration. They're hand-tying the Border Patrol agents, changing it into a humanitarian organization, putting more money towards processing illegal immigration instead of enforcing the rule of law, securing the border, stopping terrorists from crossing over, and protecting the homeland. So they've completely changed. All of the funding is going towards processing illegal migrants.
But that's not the narrative that's going out. So for those of you, again, who end up in arguments with your next door neighbors over this, are like, no, we watch the mainstream media outlets, they say the numbers are down and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. They're up. Because of that CBP, which is a fancy term for basically switching that from it sounding illegal to asylum, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Explain how that works, because I know people are getting in debates about this all over the country, and the Biden administration, again, pushing out that narrative. They have the mainstream media outlets on their side, and they're saying, no, the numbers are coming down, they're coming down, but that's not what's happening.
No, and they're just legalizing illegal immigration by using the CBP One app, which actually was hacked by the cartels. So the cartels now are getting more money by our federal government CBP app. We're actually directly funding the cartels. So it's
none of this up. No, I mean, if you would have told our founding fathers this, they would have just probably given up, that this would ever happen. I mean, this is just, it's so upsetting and so demoralizing, I think, for patriots in this country. But that's why we're all here to fight. That's why we're all sitting here right there. That's why you're all sitting right there.
On the ground, and we're going to continue to talk about this with you, because you have so much background and experience when it comes to security, and you understand foreign policy really well. So we're so happy that you're a contributor here at Real America's Voice. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come back again.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on American Sunrise, we have our Stay Awake, Not Woke story up next. Chicago begging criminals. Just beg them. If you don't want to go by the rule of law, just beg and plead for them not to commit crime. We have that story and more. It's up next, so stick around. Chicago begging
a lot for begging criminals. It is. I mean, the city's been under siege forever. Like what? Criminals and gangs have been taking over. But this story is hysterical. I want to bring in the rest of our gang, our family here. Speaking of gangs, our family here, though, that doesn't commit crimes here at American Sunrise. We want to bring in Terrance Bates and also David Brody there in D.C. So this story, I mean, seriously, Chicago, what has happened to this incredible city? We know, we were talking about just the other week, how many shootings have been taking place, that they are here to break yet another record, not the records that you want to be breaking. And now, you're going to love this. The city's mayor is telling the gangs, hey, if you're going to shoot somebody, could you make sure you don't do it between, I don't know, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m.?
Yeah.
Could you do that? Yeah, and I do want to mention real quickly, this is why we need to stay awake, not woke. So if you haven't had your coffee yet, you might want to grab some of this. It's Beard Vet coffee. It is the best stuff out there.
Right behind us here, keeping us safe,
here.
just sitting there.
Yeah, so just simply go to beardvet.com, use the promo code RAB to save 10%. They need to drink some of this coffee because whoever came up with this policy is clearly asleep.
Yeah.
And not awake.
And it just goes to show that the situation in Chicago is out of control. And part of the reason it's gotten to this particular point is because you've had a string of lawmakers in that city who have had these woke agendas, who really haven't put a lot of teeth behind policies to rein in crime. And so now you see a completely cultural shift there in the city of Chicago, which is my hometown. And it's sad to see there are people who are scared to come out of their homes. I've got an elderly aunt in her 80s, and she doesn't come outside because she's scared. She just doesn't know what's going to happen. And that's a shame. That's not a way to live.
No, it's not. And if you look at the statistics, I mean, you got the University of Chicago Medicine Trauma Center saying that gunshot wounds for kids under 16 years old has doubled in the last 6 years, including as young as 2 years old. I mean, so this is serious stuff, clearly. But as it relates to the gangs, I mean, let's get not just, we can talk about mental health, yes, but let's talk about fatherlessness. I mean, the fatherlessness and the fact that they go into gangs because of the lack of fathers in the home. And it's not just Chicago and gangs. It's all over this country. It runs rampant in all different communities and all different ethnicities, if you will. We've got a problem in this country with fatherlessness, and I believe that's one of the real ills of society.
Agreed.
You're right on the money there. Psychologically and socially and spiritually and all of those things, fathers are essential. And, you know, it looks like at this point, the Democrats, and I don't want to be partisan here, this is just a fact, are doing everything they can to keep fathers out of the homes at this point.
Yeah, it's a shame. Guys, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. I told you earlier this week about Target reporting basically the first quarterly sales drop in some 6 years. All of this, of course, comes after their LGBT Pride Month Alphabet Mafia trans radical disaster that got out there. So check out this report that just aired on CNBC, and then we'll talk about it.
Target's comparable sales down 5.4%. That is well below estimates for a 3.7% drop, also the first decrease since 2016. The retailer says discretionary categories again weak, while food, beverage, essentials, beauty, those frequency categories, those were stronger. Digital sales down 10.5%. That's the third straight quarter of declines and the worst performance since Target has been giving this number. Inventory fell 17%, and lower markdowns did help to lift gross margins. Operating margins also better than expected, but at 4.8%, that's about half of the level where it was 2 years ago at 9.8%. On a call with media, Target CEO Brian Cornell pointed to macro pressures, including inflation, for tempering sales.
Dr. Gina, that was a whole lot just to say Target's in trouble.
Yeah.
Not hitting the target.
I have to tell you, the control room busting a gut when you did that last read, calling them whatever you called them. That was fantastic.
Trans mafia.
Yeah, the whole thing. It was. I have to tell you, though, these people were working with Satanists. Obviously, the trans radicals pushing their ideas onto our children, selling tuck-friendly swimwear. I've never even heard that term before Target decided to make it a household name. Marketed to our children. Tuck-friendly. Not good for business. I tell you, moms like me, my girlfriends, they're not shopping there anymore.
Yeah, and that's a big deal.
5 places so that we don't have to go to Target.
And it's a big deal because, David, I'm sure you can relate to this.
What, tuck bathing suits? Oh, I'm
No.
sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I really hope not. And I really hope not. There's our new segment, Getting to Know You. Getting to know all
I don't
about
want to know you like that.
I don't want to know. No. But going
Ladies,
back
wardrobe
to...
change. Give me a second. Go ahead.
No, please. Yes, please, no wardrobe malfunctions. Talking about Target, though, and I'm sure both of you, Terrance, you can relate to this, too. For years, though, I mean, it was... people would call it Target. Men would go, oh, my wife's never going to get out of there. I mean, because they go in for one or two things. I mean, you want to talk about coming downhill fast, just like Budweiser. I mean, when will these companies learn it's not working? Quit forcing it.
Well, it's not working. And also, I mean, Target, this is a classic case of Target really not just screwing up, but like really majorly screwing up, because not only did they tick off all of the conservatives, or at least the moral, true blue conservatives on this, but they also ticked off the LGBT community, because they were like, here's the tuck bathing suits. Oh, never mind. We're going to basically banish you to the back of the store, and now we're going to take them out of the store. So they just ticked off everybody. And it kind of goes to the point of, you know what, stand for something. You know what, like, I can't stand what the liberals do on a day-to-day basis, on a daily basis, obviously. But if you're going to go into the fight, stand for it and fight for it. And Target was like, you know what, we'll the wind goes this way, the wind goes that way. We'll do whatever we need to do to just kind of figure it out. That's being a sheep. That's not being practical, and it's surely not being beneficial financially to them.
Yeah.
David,
they're going to pick the fight, win it. Yeah.
David, are you saying that Target tucked and ran?
Oh, so good.
Oh, wow.
So good. I've got nothing.
So
You can officially drop the mic.
Drop mic. Yep, drop mic. There,
Right,
that one goes to T.
Don't call on me again today. I've met my quota. Don't call on me again today.
Well, they
please.
definitely missed the target, like I said, by insulting their customers. The people of Maui are losing faith in the federal government, and we can't blame them, but they're not losing their faith in God. We're going to have our moment of faith up next.
Everything you said about all the resources that are being brought to bear, but we keep interviewing survivor after survivor who says that either they didn't see any government personnel or assistance for days, or that they still haven't. How do you explain the disconnect between what they're saying and what you're saying about all the resources that are there in Maui?
I think you need to understand that this community is going through an amazingly traumatic event. I can tell you that we have personnel that are on the ground year-round and embedded in with the state as soon as the fire started, so we continue to understand what resources were needed and help move them in.
Pathetic. That was President Biden's FEMA administrators, basically short answers for those that need help right now who've literally lost everything. Can you imagine the unthinkable for those survivors of the Maui wildfires, that they have seen actually hell on earth and literally hardly any help from the government? According to reports, the government's response so far has come up far short of what it has needed. Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Miranda Khan, along with David Brody, live in Washington, D.C. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. Yeah. $700. First off, we mentioned it the other day, Biden didn't even comment. And not only did he not comment, he actually said, I have no comment. He couldn't say one word. And then when he finally does, it's a few sentences while he's on an economic tour to try to get you to buy into his failing economic policies. And all he says is, hey, I'm going to give them $700 for prescriptions. What? They've lost everything, David. How insulting.
Yeah. No, it really is, Miranda. You're absolutely right. And there's so much to say. I'll be brief. The folks in Hawaii would like to see Biden, the federal government, send over one of the ships, one of the U.S. government ships there that will have medical supplies on it to be able to help the people over there. That there hasn't even been talk of that yet. We don't know anything about that. The fire was out for 2 days, according to residents. 2 days, and there was no government assistance at all in these communities.
Right.
The government says, specifically in Hawaii, they say the roads were blocked, and the residents are saying, give me a break. The roads were wide open. So there's a lot more to this story, and we'll cover it right here on American Sunrise.
Yeah, there's a lot more why the sirens weren't working. We're going to continue to talk about this because we want to be there for our fellow Americans, even if the president and government is not. So here's the big question. How do you keep the faith during the most trying of times? It's really important. Remember that God is there with us in the trenches, and to trust in the Lord in difficult times. And that's what this new segment is all about, moment of faith, to help us. There's a lot of negativity in the world, but there are those moments, and God's always working. Jeremiah 33, verse 6. Behold, I will bring it health and healing. I will heal them and reveal to them the abundance of peace and truth. That is for you, the people of Maui. All right, coming up, President Trump's spokesperson, Liz Harrington, is live with us. We're going to talk about the fourth indictment that Trump and 18 others are facing. We'll be right back. You're watching American Sunrise. on American Sunrise, the Trump indictment. The president's chief spokesperson, Liz Harrington, will be here in moments to share how Team Trump is fighting back.
Well, you're looking at video out of Chicago where there's a new crime-fighting strategy in place that a lot of people are saying is woke and needs to be put to bed.
And draining the swamp, tax crusading Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown in hot water for not disclosing his family's six-figure bonus. Uh-oh, those stories and more. American Sunrise starts right now.
We've got your back as you start your day.
You are articulating what the majority of Americans feel today, and I really appreciate that you do.
Y'all tell the truth.
You guys are our voice.
We watch every morning while getting ready for work.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm Miranda Khan along with Dr. Gina here in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida.
We are blessed enough to be joined every day by David Brody, surviving the swamp in Washington, D.C. David, I'm honestly not sure how you do it, buddy.
Well, I don't know either, and I've said all along, I need prescription meds, and I need a nice chamomile tea there in the evening, and maybe even a Calgon bath. But other than that, the swamp is alive and well, sadly, in D.C. The question is Trump going to have the last laugh? We get to all of that here in the second hour.
Well, let's head out to Denver, where Terrance Bates is always monitoring the breaking news. Terrance, what's the latest?
Well, we want to take you to Paradise, Maui specifically, where the emergency management chief is defending his agency's decision not to sound the state's warning sirens during last week's deadly wildfire that left entire communities ashen and more than 100 people dead.
Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Malka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire.
That was Administrator Andaya. He says the state's warning sirens are in place to warn about tsunamis. He also says most people on the island are conditioned to head to higher ground when those sirens sound. In the meantime, the death toll is now up to 110 people. President Biden and the First Lady are scheduled to travel to Hawaii on Monday to survey the damage and meet first responders as well as survivors. Donald Trump's trial in Fulton County, Georgia will likely be televised. That means you'll probably get a chance to see the circus from outside the Fulton County courthouse and inside. Georgia law requires, that cameras be allowed in judicial proceedings with a judge's approval. Back in 2018, the state Supreme Court ruled that, quote, open courtrooms are an indispensable element of an effective and respected judicial system. Georgia also requires that indictments be made public immediately, unlike in New York, where the public waited for days for the document to be unsealed after President Trump was told that he would be indicted. Although the presiding judge has the final say on camera access, requests are almost always granted once organizations file a formal request, which is known as a Rule 22. And kids in North Carolina no longer have access to gender-affirming care this morning. It's all thanks to the Republican-led General Assembly overriding the governor's veto of a bill barring doctors from providing hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and gender transition procedures to anyone under 18 years old. While the new law took effect immediately after the veto override, minors who began treatment before August 1st can continue. North Carolina is now the 22nd state to enact a law restricting or banning gender-affirming medical care for kids. However, most of those laws are facing legal challenges. LGBTQ plus advocates in the Tar Heel state are already promising to file legal challenge to that state's new law as well. That's a quick check of your headlines. Of course, I'll have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit, including your economic headlines coming up here in our next segment. Guys?
Well, thanks, Terrance. Speaking of headlines, let's go to our top headline, the fallout from the Georgia indictment. I mean, this has become such a clown show, a circus, if you will, and it's just utterly ridiculous. You've got a mugshot, potentially, cameras in the courtroom, now a trial date that Fani Willis, she's a piece of work, wants to have a day before Super Tuesday. Let's get more from Liz Harrington, Donald Trump's spokeswoman. Liz, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Liz, are you there?
Good to see you. Yes.
Yeah, hey, so talk to me a little bit about how you see all of this playing out. What's the strategy? And it seems to me that as much as Fani Willis and everybody wants to talk about Trump and all of his misdeeds, it's actually going to be Trump and the lawyers being able to talk about election fraud that happened very much so in 2020.
Well, exactly. I mean, the irony of bringing this case in Fulton County for election interference, so-called, that's probably the most corrupt county that we've seen in our history of fraudulent elections. I mean, when you actually look at the facts. So, of course, that's something that we can bring up. But, I mean, clearly what this entire fake indictment is election interference for 2024. I mean, trying to do it right in the middle of primary season on top of the other sham cases that they're bringing, all taxpayer funded, by the way, all while our country is being driven into the ground. Crime is skyrocketing in Atlanta. They don't care about the rule of law. And in fact, they issued these sham charges before the grand jury had even met, before they had heard witnesses, before they voted. This is a banana republic, and the American people understand that. That's why they continue to rally behind President Trump, because they know he's the one who's going to restore us to a constitutional republic and make our country great again.
Liz, you bring up such a good point, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, how they accidentally, leaked the verdict before the grand jury even reached it, and then trying to act like it was, oops, just a mistake, I hit the wrong button, it happens. That doesn't happen.
No, you're right. It doesn't happen. And it only happens when you are going through the motions and pretending to be a court of law. This is so far removed. This is just like the Soviet Union, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. I mean, and Fani Willis has been fundraising off of her promise, essentially, to bring charges. That's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to investigate, look at the facts. And here, all the facts, which honestly they don't have any on their side, all of this is already known from January 2021. Why did they wait to bring this case in the middle of when President Trump is leading all in the polls? He's crushing the Republican primary. He's crushing Biden in the general. And we know that's exactly the reason why. There's nothing new here. President Trump did nothing wrong here. There's no actual case to bring, but they're trying to drum up these fake charges to interfere in yet another election. And really, that's what this is all about. I mean, are we allowed to question our government? Are we allowed to voice our grievances and petition our government when they are so corrupt, as we have seen, certainly over the past 3 years? They say no. You're not allowed to encourage people to watch public hearings. That is literally a quote-unquote criminal act, according to Fani Willis. This is a very dark path, and what people need to understand is if they can go after President Trump for his tweets, for his being able to give a public speech, which is also, according to them, a criminal act, they can go after all of us.
Right. Liz, President Trump, though, firing right back, not losing a step in his momentum, saying he's going to hire his own special prosecutor to correct all of this. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more for us?
Yes, you got to think about the context of what all of this is happening under. This is happening when we have whistleblowers, bank records, wire transfers showing that the Biden crime family has actually committed real crimes the American people understand, taking bribes from foreign nations, extortion, money laundering. And this has all been happening and being exposed. And every time something new comes out about those revelations, they indict President Trump on something that's not a crime, on his free speech. So what he's promising is we're going to actually clean this up. We're going to actually have real rule of law, equal justice. And the FBI and the DOJ are out of control. They raided illegally a former president and leading candidate in all the polls, his home. Now they're trying to throw him in jail for his free speech, for his right to have presidential records. All of these cases are such shams. He's going to, and that's why they're bringing them, because they know he's actually going to bring an end to it. And that's what he's talking about. He's going to get in there again, and he's going to really clean out this corruption.
Liz, I have to ask you really quickly, going back to Fulton County, Georgia, we're hearing new reports that there is even more evidence that there was election fraud. The president, as you know, promising that, bring it on, basically, and I'll show even more evidence that it was going on. And not just him, but Marjorie Taylor Greene as well, who is from the state of Georgia.
Exactly. She knows exactly what happened there and what continues to happen there. That's what people know in the state of Georgia, and other people are going to learn very soon, is that these elections are not safe and secure. They're not accurate. And even Brian Kemp, who claims that 2020 was perfect, he sent a letter pointing out that there were 36 inconsistencies in the recount in Fulton County in 2020. And he didn't mention the number that they were off. There are 4,081 false votes to this day for Joe Biden in the hand recount from Fulton County. That's only one subcategory of votes. It was mail-in ballots in one recount. They counted 3 times. They got 3 different results. We're talking about an election that they claimed was decided by 11,779 votes. That's more than 25% of the margin right there that Kemp has admitted, and they've all tried to sweep under the rug.
Well, and
the numbers don't add up. You have to be careful when you say things like that, Liz, because you'll be the next one indicted just for saying such a thing.
Yep, co-conspirator right here.
We appreciate you. We thank you for all you do, and we want you to come back soon.
Great to see you all.
Thanks, Liz.
All right, up next, it's time to drain the swamp. I think we definitely need to do that after hearing that, right?
Yes.
One of the Democrats' biggest tax crusaders, right, now finds himself in hot water and is being labeled a hypocrite. It's a story you don't miss. That's all coming up right here on American Sunrise. We're grooving today. Welcome back. Dr. Gina and I are here in West Palm Beach, Florida again. David Brody joining us in Washington, D.C., where politicians go to become wealthy.
I thought you were going to say where politicians go to die, which is also true.
Which is also true. Both happen.
They spend the rest of their lives
right?
in the Capitol. Exactly.
Speaking of D.C., that brings us to Drain the Swamp.
And this segment is sponsored by seaofmud.com. Use your promo code RAV1776 for 15% off. That's a good percentage off. Yeah. The segment's sponsored by seaofmud.com. You can use your promo code 1776, RAV 1776. That brings you 15% off.
And I really like this one.
I like this one.
This one says, I identify as non-binary. Get it?
And this is, and I was talking about this already this morning. This is the government your founders warned you about. No kidding.
Love them.
No
They're
kidding.
so clever. I still, though, it's going to be hard, though. I'm going to be honest with you, because your Trader Joe's with a T, still one of my favorites.
Yes.
But I do like this one a lot.
2 T's.
All right, Democrat Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown has been on the front lines of raising taxes, but obviously, well, he doesn't practice what he preaches.
Sherrod Brown didn't disclose his wife's 6-figure pension investment and pension payment, maybe prison later, pension payments in past annual finance forms, deflating his net worth by as much as $500,000. Why are we seeing this again and again?
Yeah, well, the missed disclosures weren't the only financial mix-up for the Ohio Democrat this year. In May, in fact, Brown wrongly claimed tax credits on his properties and was late making payments for at least one, several times.
Yeah. Well, GOP State Senator Matt Dolan has said, and this is a quote, Sherrod Brown has been in Washington, D.C. so long, he's completely lost track of reality and his own hypocrisy. After voting to raise Ohioans' taxes, Brown got caught dodging his own tax payments. Now he's guilty of ignoring the same ethics rules that he used to attack Republicans.
So typical.
That's liberal hypocrisy. And once again, here we are with liberals and hypocrisy in the same sentence. Sherrod Brown, is this like blue collar. He pitches himself as this like blue collar guy from Cleveland, but there's nothing blue collar about him when he's profiting like this. But Joe Biden is the guy from Scranton, right? That takes the Amtrak train. Give me a break. You're getting millions of dollars from who knows where. Hopefully we're about to find out. But the point is, he's a rich guy, too. So they're all a bunch of hypocrites. What's interesting, speaking of hypocrites, how about the environmentalists? They do the same thing. I mean, you got Leonardo DiCaprio and all these people on their private jets. You got, that's what they do. They rail against the environment and then get on their private jet. This is what we've come to expect from liberals. So this doesn't shock me at all. By the way, Sherrod Brown, back in his first marriage, not to bring up personal stuff, but in his first marriage, there was a restraining order on him for harassing his wife. I mean, that's not me saying that. That's actually in the public record. So, I mean, he's had a long kind of checkered history. But if you've got a checkered history, you can be a U.S. senator. So come on down.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to say he has a great opponent this round, Bernie Moreno, running so far. I think there might be some other candidates as well, but Bernie stands out from that district in Ohio, has a really good chance, and he loves the same ice cream I love. Not to be Joe Biden here.
There you go. That's the number one issue.
Yes. All right, coming up, Illinois parents can now be sued if they post their children's pictures on social media. You can't make this stuff up. Parental rights out the window.
Geez.
That story's next. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back. Dr. Gina and I are here once again in West Palm Beach, Florida, David, Brody, and Washington, D.C., and you hopefully are having a wonderful morning there, getting your breakfast. I know, David, you said that is the most important meal of the day for you, and I couldn't agree more.
What do you like for breakfast, David? I have to ask.
Well, now that I'm in my 50s, I like to increase my fiber content, if you don't mind me. I'm sorry, is that a little TMI?
I think we should get that sponsored.
Yeah, David Brody's fiber content is sponsored by, No, I mean, I think oatmeal is kind of a go-to for me. I kind of like that. You know, a little bit of, just a little bread, just small. Listen, not just a little bit of bread.
Don't go crazy with the carbs here.
Yeah, I lost like 33 pounds in the last 2 or 3 years in a good way. I did a little keto. I did a little Weight Watchers, and it kind of worked for me, just so you know. But that's
awesome.
kind of that's what I do. Thank you very much.
Miranda drinks some godforsaken looking green juice that I wouldn't touch with a 20-foot pole. But look how good she looks. And for me, I'm a bacon girl. I love my super crispy bacon. I like bacon and chocolate, bacon and eggs, bacon and anything.
Chocolate.
Bacon.
And she looks like that, so maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe
it's keto.
It's
the keto. You can do keto if you just eat bacon all the time.
Well, that may sound weird, but this next story is really, really weird.
This one got me. I saw it this morning and asked if we could slip it in the show last minute because parents' rights are such a big deal to most of us who are watching. Kids in Illinois will soon be able to sue you, their parents, if you fail to pay them profits from social media posts you make about them.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
All the crime going on, illegal immigration, defunding the police. This is the #1 issue. So a bill passed this week in Illinois grants protections to minors under the state's child labor law, and it is considered exploitation for parents. You're going to love this. I love getting your reaction. For those of you at home, seriously, think about this. It's considered exploitation for parents, that's you, to just simply post pics of your children.
What about grandparents?
And make a profit.
What about aunts and uncles?
I mean,
now you
I don't know a parent out there that doesn't show off their kids. I mean, I don't have kids, but I have 2 kitties. And I showed them off. I mean, this is insane. It's not like you're posting something that's questionable.
Right, and the thing about
this
this is really about what we've been, this has been a thread through this entire show, actually, today. This is really about separating parents from their children. This is really about putting enmity between parents and children and separating them. Teaching children at a young age, you should think critically, not about anything else that you're taught in school or politics or any place else or movies or video games, but you should think critically about your parents. You should be thinking of ways that you can attack them. Isn't it, David?
Yeah, well, you're so right on the money, both of you here. And what it's doing is it's causing dissension within the nuclear family. And that's exactly what the liberals want to do. I mean, listen, you're never going to get the liberals to just come out and say, yes, hi, we're here to destroy the nuclear family. They're never going to do that. But what they're going to do is do stuff like this, kids suing parents. I think the sad part in all of this, honestly, is that we are in a time in America where this is even having to potentially be talked about and discussed and litigated because parents need to do their job and kids need to listen to their parents as it relates to like a cohesive family structure. But we don't have a cohesive family structure in America as much as we used to. And I think a lot of people are taking advantage of that. All right. I got to get the headline. We have to get all of us. It takes a village, as Hillary would say.
It does.
We all have to get to these economic headlines. Terrance Bates in Denver. Can I say that? With the AMAC-sponsored headlines.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Terrance Bates here with your economic headlines. The bell is getting ready to sound here shortly. Guys, if we can bring up that video, as we're probably about 10 seconds away. We've got some people standing in front, getting ready to start clapping and getting ready. I can tell you that futures are very positive right now. Pre-trading action, all of the indices, the Dow, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, all in the green. Momentarily, once the bell rings, the markets will actually open, and we'll see how actual trading goes. But again, that's good news that the futures are up, all of them in the green, and we'll hear that bell here in just a second. And cue the bell. Here it comes. Right on cue. All right, so the markets are now officially open, and already the Dow Jones showing positive. The S&P 500 also in the green. Unfortunately, it looks like the NASDAQ is now in the red. So the Dow up just about 0.2 of a point. The S&P 500 up about 0.3 of a point. And now the NASDAQ going from red to green, also up about 0.4 of a point. So hopefully that goes and continues throughout the day. In terms of other economic headlines, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is reportedly making arrangements for a visit to China. The move comes after the Commerce Secretary or Commerce Department, imposed restrictions on U.S. investments in China. Raimondo's Chinese counterpart says that he welcomes the visit as Chinese companies are trying to recover from the sting of this U.S. move. You probably remember President Biden signed an executive order earlier this month to block and regulate American high-tech investments in China. The order covers advanced computer chips, microelectronics, quantum information technologies, and artificial intelligence. Those restrictions highlight the intensifying competition between the world's two largest economies. Prices at the pump are up some 31 cents just over the past month. The spike is largely attributed to rising crude oil prices, heightened global demand, Saudi Arabian production cuts, and refinery limitations due to heat waves. By law, American refineries have to shut down when temperatures reach 95 degrees or hotter. AAA's national average for regular gas is at $3.87 this morning. That's 7 cents less than you were paying just last year this time, yet it is still more than 30 cents more than you were paying a month ago. 7 states, including Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Washington State, Georgia, and Florida, have seen prices exceeding what drivers were paying this time last year. Saudi Arabia has decreased its production by 1 million barrels per day, while Russia reduced oil exports by 500,000 barrels per day. Those two countries are the world's leading oil exports. Well, as you know, our world can change at a moment's notice, and we are currently on the brink of economic collapse for a lot of people, and it is scary. But if you don't think that you need emergency food right now, just wait a day and see what happens. Just don't wait too long, though, folks, because as we're speaking, preparewithrav.com is offering a huge discount on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit. For a limited time only, you'll save 25% per kit, which is the biggest discount they offer. But it doesn't come along every day, and it won't last long. So do yourself a favor and grab your 25% discount on each 3-month emergency food kit that you need. It includes delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and more. And those meals all provide more than 2,000 calories a day. So get at least 1 kit per person in your family and grab your 25% discount today before this offer expires. You'll also get fast and free shipping. Go to preparewithrav.com, or you may regret it. That's preparewithrav.com. Get your 25% discount and a delicious meal for your family. That's a quick check of your economic headlines.
Thanks so much, Terrance. Yeah, we're all feeling that pain at the pump, and I love hearing how they're increasing oil production overseas. Yeah, but we're not doing it here. Right. That would make sense. Right.
Yeah.
And now they've used all their reserves.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is Bidenomics.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, things are getting saucy as the 2024 race heats up. A scenario we should ponder ahead as American Sunrise continues. We'll be right back.
2024 is getting saucy. And from a deep state standpoint here in D.C., it's getting downright nasty. It's been nasty ever since Donald Trump stepped onto the scene and glided down the escalator. David Brody here in Washington, Terrance Bates in Denver, Colorado.
Hey, David.
Love Denver. And Miranda and Dr. Gina in West Palm Beach. Folks, what's interesting here when it comes to Trump and everything going on with election fraud is that with Al Gore, I mean, Al Gore and these guys, remember the Florida recount, right? The hanging Chad and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they fought this all the way to the Supreme Court. And let's remember, and here's the key difference. We really haven't talked about this. When Al Gore, everybody brought it all the way to the Supreme Court actually obviously ruled on the merits of the case, and George W. Bush won at the time. In this case, with Donald Trump, he brought it to the Supreme Court, too. They wouldn't take the case. They would never take the case. They would never hear it on the merits at all. And so that's why Trump continued on and tried to talk to Raffensperger and tried to talk to others. It wasn't like the Supreme Court decided, and then Trump, after the Supreme Court decided, said, well, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I'm going to do my thing. That would be an entirely different situation. But that's not what happened. So Al Gore got his day in court of the Supreme Court. Donald Trump never did. Anyhow, something to think about.
Yeah. No, that's such a key point that you bring up, especially when, again, we've seen that. We played it the other day about all these Democrats. What was it, 24 minutes that we played the other day? There was 24 minutes of it. We played about a minute of Democrats denying the election. But that's a critical factor. He hasn't had his day in court. I do want to remind everybody, though, this segment is sponsored by Red State Barbecue. RedStateBarbecue.com. Be sure and use promo code RAP10 for 10% off. And Terrance, in my hot little hand here is Bird Rub.
You were
right.
Did you try it?
Ooh.
I haven't tried it yet because I literally just got it, but I'm gonna try it.
All right.
I'm going to try it.
So in my little hand here, I've got the Texas Spicy. And I have to admit, I don't do spicy well, but I'm going to try it. As I was telling you guys yesterday, we've been going around here in the studio and taking spoons. I've got my nifty little spoon here. Taste test all of these different sauces. This one right here is the Tarp Room Fire. So these two are on tap for us today. We'll be tasting these, and I'll report back tomorrow if my belly can handle this Texas Spicy. I'm not so sure. I don't do spicy
well.
And
that's Tap Room Fire.
Tap Room Fire. Yeah.
Got it.
My family can't get hot enough. From the time my kids were little babies, my husband had them eating hot sauce that was so hot.
Wow.
And so I know the Tap Room Fire, my kids will be fighting over that one for sure. We have another saucy headline, though, guys. Take a look at this. It's something to ponder. 4 ways Trump's criminal trials could shape the 2024 elections. This is coming from Yahoo Finance. These are the 4 scenarios. Number 1, Trump quits the campaign. Absolutely won't happen. Number 2, Trump runs short of money. That could happen, but he could just sell more shirts with those mugshots on him, and I think he'll be just fine. Number 3, Trump bows out as part of a plea deal. He's not going to do a plea deal. Or number 4, drum roll, Trump hangs in there, becomes president again. That is the most likely scenario. Glad they at least get it.
I'll take number 4, and we're in a group of 4. There we go.
That's right.
I'll take it.
Goodness.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose. They're really, really hoping for this, and I can't wait to get the latest poll numbers, because it is kind of comical to see that with every single indictment, every single
one,
his poll numbers just continue to climb. So I'm really looking forward to it, because he's almost taken 60%,
right?
Brody, and most of the polls, Real Clear Politics. I haven't checked the average, but they take all the polls and then they come up with an average to see how he's doing. But most of the ones I've seen, anywhere from 50 to almost 60% in the running, and second and third place, nowhere
far
near.
Behind. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that 60% number you tout, I was just going to say, I was reading on True Social, President Trump posting a couple of polls that had him above 60%, right there at 60 cent, just 60%, excuse me, just a little bit above. I said 60 cent. He ain't that cheap. Trust me, he's worth a whole lot more. But 60%. And so, that just goes to show that all of these indictments are helping him. And to your point, Miranda, everybody else is so far behind. I say they're as far behind as a country mile. It's not even close.
Well, and
but remember
remember
too that these poll numbers are populist numbers. These are surveying everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Frequent voters aren't everyone. Everyone is not a frequent voter. So those numbers realistically almost always skew higher toward Trump. So whatever numbers you're seeing in polls, it's almost always going to be much higher for Trump, especially the side-by-side polls with Joe Biden.
Good point.
Those actually skew strong.
You
Trump.
mean like what happened in 2016, David? You're giving us a little history lesson. I mean, just to remind everybody, I think it was 2 polls that actually predicted that President Trump was going to win. So that's how much faith we put in those polls.
Right.
And to your point.
But it's not because the polls are off. It's because the polls are skewed much higher toward President Trump than they ever appear.
Right.
Right. And also, can I just say, like, and I say this in the nicest way, but who's the bozo that wrote that article that had one of the options is Trump quits? Well, I mean, has this person been living under a rock, like, forever?
Apparently.
Trump's not going to quit. That's the last thing Trump. I mean, Trump would rather go out to dinner with Fannie Willis and take in a movie afterwards before quitting the election. Give me a break.
Right.
I don't want to see. I don't think you do that either, by the way.
I don't think you do that either. But the big question, right, is this trial going to happen? Obviously, the timing of it all suspect. I mean, right, that's not a coincidence when they're doing it right before the primary.
It's not going to
But
happen.
I'm still curious to think. And I wish we would have had time to ask Liz Harrington if they think it's going to happen, because Dershowitz has an opinion. Corey Lewandowski, who we had on this week, has an opinion, doesn't think it's going to happen. I would love to know what our viewers think right now. So if you're sitting at home grabbing that coffee, maybe you had oatmeal like David Brody over there.
Or maybe you had some barbecue sauce this morning from
You
Red
had
State
chocolate, chocolate and bacon like Gina does. I'm going to try that, because if I can look like that by just having chocolate
it has
and
to be
bacon.
dark chocolate.
Dark okay,
Yes.
okay, there's the key.
All the antioxidants.
If that's the key. We didn't even get to ask Terrance. Oh, we didn't even get to ask you. Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, again, she has set that trial date there for the primary. But the other thing we haven't talked about, I mean, we talked about a little bit the other day, is that she herself, they could go after her because of that new law that went into effect, and not everyone's talking about that. So
Exactly.
do you think it's going to happen? I mean, does anybody think they're going to go after her? Like, what comes around goes around, only she's going to be hit harder?
No.
I think Trump's going to pull out no stops, and he's going to go for broke on anything he can, in any way that he can go after her, he will. And if there's a new law that says that that they can go after her, I think that absolutely she'll be gone after.
Well, I think he wants to. I think he wants to. But the truth of the matter is, this is a Ryan Kemp kind of situation down there in Georgia. I think if they should have done this 6 months ago, 9 months ago, a year ago, whatever they. I mean, now you're going to. It starts in October. I mean, you know, to me, I think I'm not quite sure it's going to work right now. They got the timing messed up on this.
Yeah. This is a mess.
Well, and you have to ask
around.
yourself where the Republican legislature is in Georgia.
True.
That's what just blows my mind the whole time, because they could absolutely put an end to all of these shenanigans right now. What are they doing?
All of the Republicans could, Gina. I mean, you're bringing up a good point. Where are the Republicans?
All of them, right.
They're all
No,
just
that's
like
exactly
a couple
right.
of sound bites here and there saying, you know, this is wrong. They shouldn't be indicting him. Bad, 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 bad. We're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to actually impeach Biden or go after Hunter. Really, we're just going to appoint a fake special prosecutor, right? I mean, come on. Man up.
Yeah, because the dirty little secret is Trump's a big headache for them, and they want to go away. That's the truth. I'm talking about even people that we think are the friends, are the true conservatives we hear. I guarantee you, if you put a truth serum in some of them, not all of them, but in some of them, they will say, you know what? On balance, I'd rather it just go away. I'd rather just Trump kind of fade into the sunset. Well, guess what? Newsflash, ain't going to happen.
No.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at our Getter chat here, guys. Superfez writes, they could have done this 2.5 years ago. Now, because PDJT may win 2024 because they don't do well bigly, they indict, he writes. I won't say the actual word used there, but yeah, people really upset about all of this. And you know, this is pulling on people's heartstrings. They're very emotional about this because they see the way our country is going.
Yeah, and it's definitely in the wrong direction. And correct me if I'm wrong, David, but isn't like Kevin McCarthy, again, Speaker of the House, Republican, isn't he like in Jackson Hole when all of this is like going on and with some donors? I mean,
yeah, but you know what? I mean,
after Biden, he's still weighing this whole indictment thing. Like, I'm just saying, step up.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Jackson Hole and donors, I mean, this is kind of what he does. I mean, he goes around and fundraises all the time. So that's not necessarily unusual. But having said that, enough with the impeachment inquiry tweets. Let's move on and let's see what they've got here. And already Republicans are saying they have enough to go. But I guess McCarthy is going to just take it slow because once again, this becomes, let's take a look at the polling in the morning and see how this is polling. And that's a dangerous way to govern by polls.
Well, I'd love to know what those of you at home think. So right now you've got Terrance, he's checking that getter. Let us know. Do you think that Joe Biden should be impeached? And Kevin McCarthy, if you're watching this right now, listen to them. Because those are the people that vote for you. Coming up, we're going to spill some tea. Speaking of Joe Biden, he is busted creeping on some more children. I mean, I know I get her all choked up every time. This guy was busted for creeping on some more children. You're not going to believe it. That's coming up. More American Sunrise next. Welcome back. Dr. Gina and I are here in West Palm Beach, Florida. David Brody in Washington, D.C., Terrance Bates in Denver, and you are watching another edition of American Sunrise. Hope your morning's off to a good start. All right, we kind of started with the coffee a little bit. Now it's time to do what we do best, and it is time to spill some tea, sponsored by Artillery Tea Company. There we go.
Spill it.
ArtilleryTeaCompany.com, ArtilleryTeaCo.com is how you do that in your computer.
And your computer.
Or your telephone. Use promo code RAV for 10% off. So ArtilleryTeaCo.com, promo code RAV gets you 10% off.
Yeah, there you go. It's normal to smell tea. Not children. Especially when they're not yours. Joe Biden kind of known for that. So creepy Uncle Joe is after your kids once again. You just have to check out these creepy...
This actually takes the proverbial cake. This does. I mean, Joe has done a lot of creepy, said a lot of creepy things, but this one, wait till you see.
Yeah, so whatever you're doing, I want to give our audience a few seconds. Stop what you're doing. Come over. Take a look at your screen. Check out these creepy comments that he just made at a White House event. Take a look.
I want to say one thing to your children. I know some really great ice cream places around here. And Daddy owes you. Okay? So talk to me afterwards.
Okay, were there children there?
Oh my gosh. Talk to me afterwards.
I don't even know what to say.
Daddy owes you. Creepy.
I don't know what's going on with that, but at that White House event, I didn't see any children. These are obviously shots from other times with Joe Biden there, with him creeping on children. But at the White House, why is he even making comments about children at an event that wasn't for children? That event was actually for his big new his big
Bidenomics?
redistribution plan.
Oh, redistribution of wealth, but
Yes.
he calls it Bidenomics, which is basically failing.
It had nothing to do with children. It wasn't a children's event.
That's
Why
right.
is he talking to children? And again, Daddy owes you. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Gina,
at least hopefully they're not taking showers with their children like he is. Yes.
Oh,
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's really the key question. Why is this even on his mind? It doesn't even, it's totally, first of all, you shouldn't say it to begin with, but it's just out of context for the event and the whole thing. It doesn't even make any sense. And the fact that he's thinking about kids and ice cream and like, do we know about the ice cream guy, ice cream truck guy, the creepy ice cream truck guy? I mean, Joe Biden is like kind of turning into that. And then where's the media on all of this? And I mean this in a serious way. I mean, Tara Reid, the allegations there, they kind of dropped that like a hot potato back in the day. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have the Ashley Biden diary that the media will not win a Pulitzer Prize on because they will not do any independent investigation on that. And then, of course, all the sniffing of the kids, and you just go on and on. I mean, you put it all together, and you've got to start to connect the dots, or at least investigate connecting the dots, and they will not do it. The media will not do it. This is just creepy stuff. It's really disgusting. I mean, it starts like a ha-ha line, and then you're like, wait, this isn't funny at all.
Right, and I think the chuckling you heard was that kind of uncomfortable chuckle when someone says something and you're uncomfortable, and to try to kind of bring some levity to a room where there's tension, you chuckle. I think that's what we heard when you heard the laughing. It was more kind of one of those trying to pacify a situation that's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think you really have to consider Hunter Biden is obviously screwed up. There's just no better word for him than that, right? With all the drugs, all the sex, all the porn, all the things. Why is he so messed up? Why is he? Mm-hmm. What happened in his childhood, and who was the perpetrator? I think you can ask those kinds of questions from a man whose daughter in her diary says that her dad takes showers and she tries to avoid being around so she doesn't have to get in the shower with her own dad. I think that answers for itself.
Well, and that's why journalism is dead. Yeah, that's why journalism is dead in America. No, that's why journalism is dead in America. I mean, true journalism is literally dead because they're not going to investigate those type of allegations and all of that. And it gets turned into places like here on American Sunrise and others who will talk about it. But the problem is that the media keeps complaining about, quote, conservative alternative media outlets. Well, give me a break. Go do your job. You gave oxygen. You gave rise to patriots across this country that want the truth. And they're going to find the truth somehow, some way. And it's your fault, liberal media. You didn't do your job. If you did your job, we might not even be in this situation to begin with. But we need real sources of truth out there because we're not getting the full story from the liberal media.
Amen.
Absolutely.
That is another drop mic moment. I totally agree with you, David.
Coming up, Sunny Side Up. You're not going to want to miss it because it's next. Back in a moment.
Rise. We're wrapping up. It's been a quick 2 hours. It always is a quick 2 hours. Terrance Bates in Denver, Miranda Khan, Gina Loudon, and Dr. Gina in West Palm Beach. Hey, tomorrow on the show, Sean Spicer will be with us. You don't want to miss that. Caroline Levitt will be here from MAGA World, MAGA spokeswoman. So we've got a lot to get through tomorrow. So I better get a good night's sleep, and I need all the beauty sleep I can get. That's all.
Yeah, let's not forget Donna from Cowboy Logic is also going to join us as well and give us a preview of their show coming up.
I think it's Don and Donna tomorrow, right?
I'd love to have both of them.
Just Donna. Just Donna. We have a correction from Jason in the control room. We also have more creepy Joe Biden videos today on the 4 p.m. show, so you won't want to miss Miranda and me when we join you then.
Yeah, and a lot of you like to grab your cocktails during that time. As long as you're
coffee
at home,
and tea in the morning.
To get through it.
Cocktails in the afternoon. You, not us.
And Terrance, you have a long, busy day ahead. You're going to be hosting again for Steve Gruber, who is on vacation with the family.
Exactly.
So you're hosting America's Voice Live. What's cooking?
Right before you guys come on at 4 o'clock, we'll be on to talk a little bit more about President Trump and this latest indictment coming out of Georgia. We'll have some more perspective on that. Also, the very latest on the